With the NFL draft just days away, NFL fever is ramping up in full strength. I had the opportunity this afternoon to catch up with Rick Stavik, an NFL draft analyst for Rand Sports, to give you everything you need to know about this year's NFL draft and its prospects. First of all, Rick, good afternoon and welcome to the Two-Man Advantage podcast, buddy. It's good to see you this afternoon.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
So, Rick, assuming Jameis Winston is the number one pick on Thursday, what sort of a player are the Bucs getting in Winston? Do you think his off-the-field concerns should play a role in Tampa's thinking on Thursday? And the fact that he played in a pro-style offense, does that give him a leg up over Marcus Mariota in your mind?
Absolutely. Well, I think the Bucs would be getting a nearly pro-ready quarterback with an excellent physical skill set and strong on-field leadership skills, but he also has a history of making bad choices off the field. And are those off-the-field issues a concern? Absolutely. The draft is already a risk, especially first-round picks, especially quarterbacks in the first round, and especially quarterbacks who are potentially the first overall pick. The Bucs are going to have to do a lot of homework to feel comfortable making him the face of their franchise, which by now they probably already have done all their homework. But is the pro style, does his history as a pro style quarterback give him a leg up over someone like Mariota, who's in a spread offense in college? Absolutely. Many college spread offenses are mainly out of the gun, meaning they're not used to 3, 5, and 7-step dropbacks. More importantly, college spread offenses try to simplify pre- and post-snap reads to help them get the ball out quicker. You can't get by on that at the NFL level because of the talent and speed of the defenses, but also because of the complexity of the defensive schemes, which are showing an array of looks. Someone used to playing under center in a pro-style offense clearly has a leg up on spread quarterbacks when it comes to adapting and transitioning to the NFL level.
And in terms of Marcus Mariota, he's certainly one of the most intriguing prospects in this draft because of the system he played in and the production he had in college. But how do you think his transition to the league will go, and how do you forecast him as a professional player?
I think he's got the skill set to be a very good NFL quarterback. He's a smart player. He's highly athletic. Those two traits alone are going to certainly help his transition to the NFL level. But he's got the arm strength. He can make all the throws. He can move. He has good feet in the pocket. He has good vision, and he takes care of the ball. He doesn't have a lot of interceptions like Jameis Winston. So that'll be very appealing to an NFL team. He does have a difficult transition going from a spread offense to a more traditional pro-style offense, but it's not one that he can't overcome. The team that drafts him is going to need a plan in place to properly ease his transition to the NFL, but I'm very confident that he can become a very good NFL quarterback.
Would you consider him a better version of a prospect like Tim Tebow?
He's a much better prospect than Tim Tebow. If for nothing else, just mechanics alone. He has much better mechanics than Tebow had coming out. And he's also not a one-dimensional player like Tebow. Tebow was a power runner that didn't really scare many teams with his arm. Mariota, he can scare teams with his arm, and he can also move. And he's also, unlike a lot of the Tebow aspects, he's not a run-first quarterback. You know, he likes to sit back and make his read first before cutting out and running, depending on the play.
And can you just give me sort of a thumbnail of 5 draft headlines that people should be watching for throughout Thursday and throughout the rest of the draft?
Top 5 headlines besides quarterbacks, obviously.
Yes.
I think one of them is, do any running backs sneak into the first round? Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon certainly look like first-day picks. And there's a good chance the teams at the end of the first half, like Dallas and New England, Indianapolis, they could potentially use a running back, an impact running back. I could potentially see them sneaking into the end of the first round. Another one is how far does Dorial Green Beckham fall? He's an immensely talented player, former #1 player in the country coming out of Hillcrest High School in Springfield, Missouri. And he is an immensely talented player, but he does have off the field concerns. And you know, it's hypersensitive as teams are towards guys with off the field concerns. It's going to impact his draft stock. But it's hard to find guys that are 6'5", 230 pounds that can run a 4.4 with leaping ability, can stretch the field vertically, and are physical across the middle. It's tough. So how far he falls, that's going to be interesting. As far as that, another thing to keep an eye on is the trades. This class is deep with wide receivers and edge rushers, and when they start falling early on, who makes a trade up? And I think finally, how much does Shane Ray's turf toe affect his draft stock? He's gone from potentially a top 5 pick to maybe falling down to the latter half of the first round. And I'd say the last surprise is, does Chip Kelly, the Philadelphia Eagles, have any surprises up his sleeve? He's certainly proven that he is not predictable at all, and he has made some pretty bold moves as being in his first couple months as general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been enamored with Marcus Mariota, has coached him in college, and has said that he views him as someone that's going to win a lot of Super Bowls, but has also said he doesn't want to mortgage the draft on him. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles do, if they stay pat or if they move up and try and get Mariota.
And outside of the top 2 picks of Tampa and Tennessee, who else in the top 10 will you be keeping a close eye on to see what they do in the draft?
Washington Redskins at number 5 is going to be very interesting because their roster, the way it is right now, they've got a lot of holes and they don't have a lot of depth. And the reason because of that is because they gave up so much draft capital a couple of years ago to acquire Robert Griffin III. So, you know, say what you will about that trade, the bottom line is the Redskins have a lot of holes. And with the new general manager in place, I wouldn't be surprised to see them potentially trade down, accumulate some more draft capital, and try and help their depth. Another team to look at in the top 10 is the Chicago Bears at number 7. They have a new defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, coming in from the San Francisco 49ers, and he's going to be switching things up to a 3-4 defense. And the Bears have a lot of holes on that side of the ball. So what they do at number 7 is going to be very interesting. I could potentially see them taking a big building block nose tackle like Danny Shelton from Washington, or potentially an outside linebacker, an edge rusher to help a stagnant pass rush. And the secondary also needs help. So I could see them potentially trading down to get some more draft picks, help adding to that defense, or use it, sticking around at number 7 and pulling the trigger on someone.
And what, in terms of prospects, what prospects should we be watching for either in the top half, the middle, or the bottom half of the draft that could make an immediate impact that people may not be discussing at this point?
Well, a lot of the impact guys are going to come early, and it's going to be the wide receivers and the edge rushers. Those guys always are much more likely to make an impact right away, and especially with all the new spread offenses in college, receivers are coming out of that level a lot more prepared to excel at the NFL level. But besides them, I think some offensive linemen could make an impact early on. Brandon Scherf at right tackle or inside at guard. Lyle Collins, also guard or tackle, could make an impact right away. And someone else is Hronis Grasu, a center from Oregon, who, if he's in the right fit, if he's in a good zone blocking scheme fit, he could make an impact right away. Later round guys, cornerback Charles Gaines, Louisville, I like him. He has good ball skills. He's an interesting prospect. He has good speed. He's not quite up to the physicality of playing cornerback at NFL yet, but given his physical gifts, I think he could potentially make an impact early on. And Darius Philon, a defensive tackle from Arkansas, if he goes into a scheme where he can be a penetrating 3-tech defensive tackle, I think he could make an impact right away too.
And in terms of the deepest and weakest position groups in this draft, where would you classify those as well?
I'd say the deepest positions in the draft are the edge rushers, which is 4-3 defensive ends and 3-4 outside linebackers, and wide receivers, very deep class as well. The weakest class, tight end, and both safety positions, strong and free safety. There's not a lot of frontline talent, and the depth throughout the class is pretty weak.
And we talked about trades earlier. How big of a role do you believe that veteran trades will play in this year's draft?
Well, there's two big veteran names that are getting tossed around, potentially being draft day trade chips. Philip Rivers, San Diego Chargers, has potentially been rumored with Tennessee Titans in exchange for the number 2 overall pick. The Chargers have been trying to re-sign Rivers, and he hasn't been very willing to negotiate so far. He's in the last year of his deal and has said that he doesn't want to talk contracts again until after next season. So San Diego could be looking for a replacement for him in the draft, but I'm not sure if Tennessee is just going to want to straight up trade a Philip Rivers for the number 2 overall pick. San Diego may need to sweeten the pot a little bit more. And the other big name is Adrian Peterson, of course, of the Minnesota Vikings. He's been getting rumored with Tampa Bay, with Arizona, with Dallas. But I'm not sure if I see a trade there. If it does happen, if Adrian Peterson is going to get traded, it'll be on draft day. But I'm not sure if he's going to get traded just because the Vikings are probably going to be asking for an awful, awful lot. And I'm not sure if any team's going to be willing to give up what they want for a 30-year-old running back with a $13 million contract.
And in terms of headlines that'll define this draft, where do you see those headlines, and what will be the storyline we take away from this draft as a whole?
I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. Are there 2 potential franchise quarterbacks in this draft? Is Jameis Winston the franchise quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have never had a franchise quarterback? Maybe. That'll be a big headline. Is Marcus Mariota, if he goes to Tennessee, they haven't had a franchise quarterback since Steve McNair. Is he the real deal? That's going to be the big question, is the quarterbacks. Just like every draft, it always comes down to the quarterbacks. That's what everyone remembers, and that's how everyone grades the draft upon. And this year should be no different.
Well, Rick, I appreciate your time this afternoon and for joining us this afternoon on the Two Man Advantage podcast.
I appreciate you having me on. I hope you're having me back on again soon.
Have fun covering this draft. I know it's an exciting time.
Yes, sir, it is. And you have fun at the draft. I'm envious.
I will. Thanks for your time this afternoon, Rick.
Thank you, Kevin.